Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Blueprint channel. Today is a special day because today is the day that I'll be going over my part 2 of my fitness journey. Continuing where I left off. From this point, I would definitely say my life changed. And fitness and health really became much more serious for me at this point. I'm so excited, dude. This is where my story gets so juicy. To continue where I left off, I was explaining how embarrassed I was trying to bench a certain amount and failing. Additionally, I was explaining how I swore that I was never going to fail again. So now that we're all caught up again, I was 18 at the time and starting to work out with my brother at the rec center every morning at 6 a.m. I was eating as much as I could, and I was following a Greg Plitt workout routine. If you don't know who Greg Plitt is, he's a crazy man. He's not alive anymore, but I definitely recommend looking him up. He's pretty cool. I was training on average an hour and a half to 2 hours every morning, 6 out of 7 days a week. Honestly, I had done a decent amount of research at this point, and I felt pretty confident in my routine. I'm not saying it was perfect, but I do think that I was training harder than 90% of the people that go to the gym. I followed this routine from May till mid-October, so about 5-ish months in total. Then I went and served a 2-year humanitarian mission for the church. Due to the rules of the mission that I served, though, I was not allowed to go to the gym. It was a huge sacrifice for me, but well worth it. Over the course of the next 2 years, I would train morning and night, twice a day, 6 out of 7 days out of the week. My routine consisted mostly of calisthenics. If I was lucky, sometimes I would move into apartments that had weights or bands that were left over from the previous missionaries that were there. At this time specifically, my diet was the cleanest and leanest that it had ever been throughout, my fitness journey. Just to give a little insight about what I was eating every day, at one point I was just doing egg whites, and then I switched to doing egg whites and tuna. I would have a can of tuna with like 4 egg whites on top of it for breakfast with hot sauce on it. Oh, and sometimes I'd have like some fruit on the side, like an apple or an orange or a couple cuties. I would do that a lot. That was it. For lunch, what I was doing was having some wheat bread it was pretty much just like deli sandwiches, like it was like a slice of wheat bread, some white pepper jack cheese on it. I always used white cheese because I heard it was healthier. And I would have that with some lettuce and then just mustard. I wouldn't put mayonnaise on it or anything like that. So very low calorie, just as healthy as I knew what to do for as far as like a sandwich goes. That's what I would do. And then I also was doing like bread with, sometimes I'd do powdered peanut butter with sliced apples. In it, I'd put some like sliced apples, sprinkle some cinnamon on it, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, it was just that for my sandwiches. For lunch, I would have a couple of those. My dinner was just, I didn't even know how to cook really. I really learned how to cook on my mission, just teaching myself, you have to make your own meals. But starting out, it was pretty bad. Like everything was super bland. I didn't really know what I was making. Dinner was just chicken and rice. Like I didn't really know what to do. It was just like, it was chicken and rice. I was trying to be as healthy as I could, so I would just throw in like onions. I would put like tomato in there, because the new tomatoes are healthy. Garlic, paprika, ginger, like any seasonings that were good and healthy for you, I'd throw them in there. And that's pretty much what my dinner was. It did not taste good in any way, and I just put hot sauce on it. And then I would also have a shake. I think I would do that. I think that was during my lunch, or I don't know, sometimes I'd maybe grab sometimes I'd maybe get a snack, and I would do a shake with my protein powder in it. I made sure there was no added sugars or like any fat or anything. I was just doing straight protein. That's all I wanted. But it was pretty much just protein powder. I would actually, I don't even think that I was having shakes at this point in time. I don't think I started doing shakes until later on. So it was just the eggs with tuna, sandwiches, and then chicken and rice. Later on, I really developed my dieting on my mission. Like that's where I really gained my core strength in dieting. That's why I say it's the leanest I ever ate, because I really was eating lean. I mean, breakfast, tuna, and hot sauces. When I say breakfast, I mean eggs, tuna, and hot sauces, definitely. That's pretty lean. Over time, it kind of developed. I was doing one cheat meal or one cheat day every Monday. And I did that for a handful of months. I saw like some gains. I started getting some abs. I wish I had the pictures of me and my mission. By the 6-month mark, you could really see I actually started to see some really good changes, but I think it was roughly about the same time that I was going into my 6-month mark, and I was like, I feel like I'm leaving gains on the table right now. I'm not giving it my all. And so then I really cracked down at that point. And that's when I say like the gears shifted for me. I learned a little more about what to do, and I was like, I'm gonna be more strict. And I think I'd switched gears from the tuna thing. I can't remember how long that went for, but at some point in time during the 2 years, I did switch from doing tuna to I did eggs and beef, like lean ground beef, like 97% lean. I think it was 96%. I would just put that with, have some hot sauce with that, and that was my breakfast with some fruit again. And then lunch, I quit eating bread, I quit eating cheese. Like I just cut out everything that had any added sugars, any fat, anything at all. Like I had completely cut it all out. And I was just doing quinoa and a tilapia fillet or 2 fillets for my lunch. Sometimes I would do salmon, but we didn't make a lot of, we didn't really, I mean, you get like a little allowance from the money that you paid to go there. And so it's very, you're kind of rationing your food almost. Like it's very minimal what you have. You don't get a lot. You just have then you know, pretty much to meet your needs. And so I was doing tilapia with quinoa and then hot sauce. And I would literally throw anything that was healthy. Like I'd put almonds in there with my fish and quinoa. I was putting lemon juice and I put vinegar in it and hot sauce and all these different seasonings and onions and peppers, like everything that I just wanted, as much stuff that I knew before leaving my mission, all the stuff in my first journey video that I explained how I studied about different foods that help you in certain ways and what's healthy and what's not and what they do and what their purpose is. I had studied all that stuff prior, and I was kind of just throwing it all in there because I didn't really know how to cook, but I knew that stuff was good for you. So I just threw it all in, and I would eat that for my lunch. And it was disgusting. I mean, fish and almonds and hot sauce don't really go together, but I did it for a while, and that was my lunch. My dinner was still just chicken and rice, same thing. It was very bland, just veggies in it, blah, 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 all that stuff. Eventually, I finally switched gears. My training program never stopped though. I always consistently trained the same. I pushed myself more and more month by month. I'd always increase the amount of reps I was doing with calisthenics. I was always trying to find new ways to work every muscle group in my core, my chest, my arms, whatever I could do to try to get as fit as I can without having a gym. Eventually my routine switched to breakfast was egg whites, and I think I was doing beef or tofu sometimes. I would switch. I just remember tofu was a food that was just good for you, that I learned about before when I was studying in high school, and so I just ate it. And I would also do that lean ground beef sometimes too. And then on top of that, I would also have a shake. So I started doing my shakes, and I would throw my protein powder, the almond milk, no added sugars, nothing. And I would put a frozen banana in there, maybe some frozen blueberries if I could afford it, and Chobani's like 0 flavored Greek yogurt where there's no added sugars, like almost no fat, just protein. I would throw that in there. I would put spinach, ginger seasoning, pretty much like any seasonings I heard were great for boosting your metabolism, off cinnamon, anything I could to try to be as healthy as possible. And then I started also having a little treat for myself on my mission. I would buy 100% cocoa. And so those little chocolate bars you can get from the store that have no added sugars. It's just straight cocoa, super bland, but you know, I was eating the most dry stuff ever. So, you know, it was actually pretty good. Sometimes I'd even break it up in pieces and put it in my shake. Oh, powdered peanut butter was a big thing. I'd throw some scoops of that in there. I wasn't really counting macros. I was just kind of doing what I knew was healthy and good for you. That would be my breakfast and lunch. And lunch, I would still do my fish, right? I would do the quinoa with fish. I can't remember if I had switched to Ezekiel bread at that point. I think it was after my mission. I think I was still doing fish and quinoa on my mission. But I still ate that for lunch. All the same ingredients the entire time. I would have, a bowl of oatmeal. I always consistently had a bowl of oats with almonds and cinnamon on it and a little bit of almond milk in there. And I would have that bowl of oats every morning with my eggs. And then lunch was the fish with the shake, or I can't remember if I did sandwiches with the Ezekiel bread, but I always had that shake. Dinner was the same thing, just chicken and rice, never changed it. I always ate chicken and rice for the full 2 years. And then nighttime, my nighttime snacks always varied. I would get hungry sometimes. I used to snack on like just roasted peanuts. They weren't like the good ones you buy from the store. It was like ones in the shell, no seasoning. It was just a roasted peanut. That was it. And I would carry a bag with them just in case I got hungry throughout the day. I would have cucumbers with just vinegar and pepper on it. I never used salt. I was like anti-sodium on my mission just because I was trying to be as healthy as possible, and sodium makes you more puffy, so I just avoided it at all costs, even though you should have a little bit of sodium. But anyways, we'll talk about it another time. And I just consistently did that for the course of my mission, and by the end of it, I mean, I had great results, honestly, incredible results compared to what I was beforehand and what the average person in the world looks like too. I mean, I looked amazing. Keep in mind, even though my diet was very healthy, and I already explained this, but I never calculated my macros during that time. My goal during those 2 years was to eat as much food as I could afford, honestly, while following the most strict meal plan that I could come up with. As a missionary, I lived a very strict and regimented lifestyle. I wasn't allowed to research online or read books recreationally, which is why I wasn't able to count or track my macros. Overall, my progress during this time did impress me. This was the first time I actually felt like I was fit, and not just, I'm talking like Brad Pitt in Troy or Fight Club fit. Like I really felt like that. There were some moments in my early stages of my journey where I did notice some abdominal development. However, it wasn't until those 2 extensive years that I was able to develop abs, like blocks, like a 6-pack, and eventually developing an 8-pack, like Taylor Lautner and Twilight. I can honestly say that I truly impressed myself. My physique towards the latter half of my mission was probably better than 90% of the people out there, even though my mind wasn't allowed to dwell on the worldly things. I couldn't help but be excited for the day when I would get to step into a gym again. Eventually, my mission did come to an end, and I kid you not, I was literally in the gym day 1 when I got back. Just thinking about this moment still gives me goosebumps. I think it's because I hold myself to such a high standard, but I felt like I was finally able to reach my goals and show the world who I am. To compare to something, I felt like Tai Lung in Kung Fu Panda, when he breaks out of prison and firmly places his feet in the pale white snow below as he takes a breath of the chilling mountain breeze around him. And he just knows at that point he's free. It's almost as if he's been unleashed into the world. And that was something that transcended in me at that point in time. That day specifically meant so much to me, stepping foot into that gym and knowing my potential, knowing what I would become in the future. I have to make sure this video doesn't turn into a part 3 because it's pretty long. My journey is a long one. I'm not gonna try to spend too much time going through all the little tiny details, but I do want to give you the gist. From that point, since my mission, I had been training for about roughly 2.5 years. Now, technically speaking, those 2.5 years I do include overall with my fitness journey, but as far as my bodybuilding journey goes, I don't include it in that. I have some pictures on my Instagram that show like I've been training for X amount of months, this amount of time, this is my progress photo, and I don't really include the fact that there was 2.5 years of training before that. The only reason why I don't do that is because to me, those 2.5 years weren't really, they weren't really me giving my all. It wasn't really me doing everything I was supposed to do. And the reason why I have that mentality is because I knew that if I was going to introduce myself to the world one day, they would always have doubts. And if they found any holes or pain points in my armor, that they would be able to get underneath it. And I didn't want to give people the opportunity to be able to do that. So I may count it as part of my fitness journey, but that's just because it's part of my journey. I'm not like a lot of fitness influencers that just say, oh, I've been working out for 10 years just because they picked up a weight every once in a while with their brother when they were 13, or because their mom made them a bowl of soup with chicken in it. Like, I don't count that stuff as, oh, this was my fitness journey. Oh, well, I played football, so that's part of my fitness journey too. Like, no, I mean, no, it's not a part of your bodybuilding journey, like your fitness journey overall. Like, maybe it's something that helps spark some interest, but it's not really, something that really conveyed your bodybuilding presence, your journey overall, your fitness, your look, everything that you are. That's not really what really did it, right? And so that's why I don't really include that. To continue where I left off, from that point on, after 2.5 years of doing what I possibly could in order to reach some goals, obtain a great physique, be healthy, be fit, do all those things. After 2.5 years of doing that, I reached that point where I stepped foot in the gym and I was like, it's game on. I'm going hard. And from that point on, I was counting my macros on day. Within the first week, I had all my macros counted. I made every single meal planned out from what I knew. I developed a lot better ideas for cooking and meals to do in the future. We'll go into that in different videos. I planned everything out within my first week. I was at the gym every single day. I was working out twice a day. I was training my abs in the morning at 5 a.m., cooking for a couple hours, and then going straight to work with all my food prepped for me. I was eating a dozen eggs every morning with oats, with a 4th cup of oats. I was doing almonds on top of that. It was pretty rough in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, when I came back, I kind of went a little overboard. And it's funny too, because I counted my macros, but like I really did just kind of go overboard. I was actually eating too much protein at the time. Probably too much food for my body as it was, but I was just going crazy. I would have the oats with the eggs, with a dozen eggs every morning. I would eat, and it was just hot sauce, like very basic stuff, kind of like how I was on my mission. Lunch, I was doing Ezekiel bread sandwiches with powdered peanut butter mixed with water, and that's how I made my peanut butter, with powdered peanut butter from Great Value version, because the PB Fit has added sugars in it, so I avoided added sugars in every way. No salt, nothing like that. Nothing was high in fat. I would do 2 meals of chicken and rice. So I would do a cup of rice with normal 4 ounces of chicken, 4-ounce chicken breast. That was one meal. And then I have a second meal with another cup of rice with 4-ounce chicken breast with a sweet potato on both on the side. Plus I would come home and have a little salad, a tofu salad. I remember I threw like chickpea stuff in it because I knew chickpeas were healthy, and I just threw like half a can of chickpeas. One time I did like black beans straight out of the can, and I just put some balsamic vinegar on it, which is like no fat, no calories, no sugars, nothing. It's just like bland as hell. It was just spinach in there with, you know, tofu straight from the fridge, straight from the package. Yeah, no, it was gross. Oh, and then top that off with a shake. I would have a massive shake with oats, protein powder, milk, almonds, blueberries, frozen banana, like powdered peanut butter, cocoa powder. I would do like buy cocoa powder to try to like give it a chocolatey flavor, and I would just do that as my shake. And it was a lot of food. My whole day was just, you know, fitness, gym, eating, all that stuff, getting the right amount of sleep, all that stuff. Super regimented, and I did that for a while, training my abs. I trained my abs for probably about 1.5 to 2 years. Eventually I quit training my abs because they were slowly just going away, right? And I was still training my abs every day. I was still eating really lean, but I was bulking, right? I was lean bulking, but I was still bulking regardless. And when you bulk, there's just nothing you can do to really maintain your abs. They will go away, they will wither. I didn't have that model, like, you know, 8-pack figure anymore. They weren't blocks just by breathing, right? I actually had to kind of flex a little bit for people to see them. My lower abs kind of started to get covered by a layer of fat, and I just decided at that point, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to train my abs anymore because they're going to go away. When I hit 4 years of a bulk, like, they're going to go away. And so I had quit training my abs by, I think, about 1.5 years in, and just kept eating and eating and eating. I was just bulking all the time. My diet definitely changed over the years though. I was still going to the gym for 2 hours a day, on average about 1.5 hours to 2 hours a day. I never quit doing my strict routine. Overall, my fitness routine, which I'll go over this in the future. My fitness routine consisted of pretty much doing heavy lifts all throughout the week, 6 days out of the week, right? And eventually it had changed. I was doing a different routine where I was heavy, and then heavy for the first half, and then light for the second half. And my diet had changed a little bit. I was adding salt to my food at this point. I started adding a little bit of salt to my eggs and stuff like that. And I started to like season my food, actually my chicken and everything. I was still eating the sandwiches for a while. Eventually, some point down the road, I think it was about 2 years in, I was doing like door-to-door sales at the time as my job, and I got really, really sick due to like a lack of sleep. I was working 10-hour days. There'd be times where we were gone for like 11 hours of the day. It was almost half the day was just going to this job. And so, you know, top that off with trying to still exercise for 2 hours a day, plus you're trying to cook for an extra 2 to 3 hours a day and prep, plus eating time throughout that. And so I ended up working myself to the ground. I almost killed myself. Like, I was very, very sick, and I was actually sick for 1.5 months. That's how long it took me to recover. I got sick, recovered, sick again, like back to back. And so I'd lost tons of progress, tons of weight, tons of muscle. I couldn't even eat the same foods during the time too, and after. I'd gotten so sick that I had gotten to a point where I couldn't even stomach eating the food that I was eating. And so at that point, that's when I started to discover how to cook other meals that were still healthy and allowed me to lean bulk, but tasted better and allowed me to feel more comfortable and not want to throw up every time I was eating it. And I have crazy stories, guys. Like, I used to sit there, and I remember when I was doing door to door, I would stand there and everybody would be like, come on, like, we gotta go. And I would have to chug a shake that's literally as thick as molasses. You know, people like get a little shake, put a little protein powder, shake it up with some water, some milk. Yeah, mine was literally like sludge. And it was a whole blender bottle this big, and I had to drink the entire thing. It was like this thick, and I would be chugging, and they're like, come on, and I'm literally like gagging, trying to get it down. and I'm gagging trying to drink it while eating cold eggs. There was times where I literally dropped my food on the floor at a warehouse and I picked it up and started eating it off the floor. There was times where I was coming home from the job and I had left a fork. My food had been sitting, wrapped chicken with rice, a huge cake full of rice. And I would literally sit there, pick up the container, no seasoning, no sauce, nothing, because it was in the car, sitting in a hot car all day, just like getting French fried, and it was disgusting and moist. And I would sit there and eat it with my hands if I didn't have a utensil. Just raw, plain. I would just go at it. I work harder than anybody around me. That's something that the elites in this world will do in order to become the best in the world. And that's what I did. I pushed myself to the brink that nobody could even do. And the only people that come to mind are elite bodybuilders that actually compete because it's their job. It's competitive for them. They're actually trying to enter into a tournament. You have to be the best. I was doing it to prove a point. I was doing it to help people. I was doing it to show myself the truth. I was doing it for different reasons, and I did that. Basically, the routine changed a little bit throughout that time. I just pretty much gained more knowledge, gained more experience with exercises and fitness and times to go and what to do and what not to do and what to eat and what not to eat. I've developed a lot since that point. And overall, to this day, it has been about 4.5 years. So I have officially reached, technically speaking, if you're counting the mission time, the overall fitness journey, it's about 8 years now. We're approaching 8 years. There was multiple moments throughout my journey where I had gotten sick and then wanted to give up. I wanted to quit, and being so upset that I had gotten sick, that I had become weak and couldn't do what I wanted to do, and couldn't eat the food that I wanted to eat, and I couldn't go to the gym, and I had to take a pause. There was a year in 2023, I think. Actually, no, it was the end of 2022. And from the month of, pretty much the beginning of November to throughout December, I had gotten sick 3 times in a row. Because I was working at this company in an office where like nobody washes their hands. Everybody who's sick just comes into work. It's just disgusting. And so I was just getting sick. It's just a petri dish over there. I was losing so much weight. I was losing so much progress. I couldn't eat the foods I wanted. I was losing muscle. And again, what happened is I lost tons of progress, and all the effort I had to put forward in order to reach that point was just gone within just that small amount of time. And I mean, when I say small amount of time, I mean a month. If you think of the grand scheme of how long I actually spent working out and training as hard as I did and eating what I did and prepping, I mean, we're talking years, and all that can just be gone in what, a month? Not all of it, but a good total of it. It's pathetic. And you know what the difference is between a natural and somebody who's not natural? It's not the amount that they lose and how fast they lose that muscle mass and everything they do from not working out and not dieting and doing those things, right? They're both pretty equivalent at the end of the day. But what isn't equivalent is the ability to regain that muscle, to regain that progress. That's the difference maker. When you see people who, kind of like Count von Monger, who loses all of his size and mass and everything that he had worked to achieve so quickly, and you're like, that's weird. That's actually pretty normal. You lose it pretty quickly as a natty. When you're not natural, though, you gain it back extremely fast. And I mean within just a matter of a month or two, honestly. For me, to be able to gain back that progress, it literally took, I'd say I started to see some changes again at 3 months. To be at my strength levels, probably like 6 to 8 months. That's how far gone it was, just from a month of deterioration. That's the difference between being a natural and a not natural. It's time and effort. You have to work so much harder, and that's what I had to do in my journey. I had tons of moments in my life within my journey where it was extremely daunting, looking towards the future. And do you know how hard it is to go to the gym and you look around and you see people there who are clearly not natural, but they're super fit, and at the time you're just a newbie and you don't really know for sure what's natty and what's not, and so you look at them and you're like, man, I hope I can look like that. Or you see people on Instagram, you say, man, I hope I can look like that. Or I'm gonna follow their programs and I'm gonna copy what they do, and I can't wait to look like that. And for somebody like me who knew I was committed enough to be able to do it and do whatever program I put my mind to be able to know for a fact that I'm gonna do this. But then to get to all the way to that point and realize I wasn't able to achieve what they look like. Where's the difference? I did everything. Luckily, I had prepared myself for any heartache, depression, false hope, loss of motivation. I had ingrained into my brain early on in my fitness journey that there's a good chance that what these guys look like might not even be obtainable. I set out in the beginning to reach that goal, to figure out what was true and what was not. That's what I've done. For the last 8 years, I have done that. I can assure you I have grown a lot since the beginning. My overall journey has been incredible, and I can walk into a gym and I can flex and work out and do my things, and it's really cool being able to stand next to the not natties and be almost equivalent to what they look like. And it's heartwarming for me to know that even though we don't have the same bicep size, we don't have the same amount of mass, or I'm not as lean as them, I'm close to it, but I'm not there. It's so rewarding for me to be able to know and think to myself that I did this naturally. I did this the slow way. I worked this hard to get to an elite level. And I may not be physically on their elite level, but I am there emotionally. My heart is bigger than theirs. I know that I pushed and worked harder than all of them. My final remarks and thoughts will be this. I have naturally lifted and eaten and dieted and planned out and slept and done everything that I'm supposed to do for 8 years now. And 4.5 of those years, coming up on 5 now, have been put towards a realistic, legit bodybuilding journey. This is my journey. I started at my junior year, 137 pounds, 137 to 160. And I went from being 160 odd pounds at 6'4" to right now my peak bulk, which still isn't that great, but you know, for a natural, it's pretty great. I'm 256, 255, 256. I'm planning to document and record a transformation video pretty soon here. I'm planning to record some new PRs that I've been able to hit, being at this big size, just to record it and show people what it looks like as a natural. And that's not to say that I'm just the strongest there is out there. Like, there'll be people out there who have better genetics than me who are stronger. But it's not gonna be by milestones, right? Unless if they're just a god amongst men, right? My journey overall has been a hard and gruesome journey, but it has been extremely rewarding, and I'm extremely grateful to be able to have it in my life, to be able to reflect on it. All my videos in the future will definitely be more uplifting, more informational, but you know, I hope the seriousness of these videos is really conveyed to all of you guys. This industry is extremely fabricated. There are so many fakes and phonies in it, and they just want your money at the end of the day. They just want fame and publicity and notoriety. As I've explained in my other video, my goal is to make sure that you all understand that I am somebody who has been through it all, so that you didn't have to do it. I destroyed myself so that you guys could have an easier journey than I did. Because my 8 years were full of breaking down, losing hope, constantly losing progress, mentally, emotionally, physically, being detrimental to my relationships, friendships, family, anybody around me. There was a certain point in time where, kind of like Arnold, where he didn't go to see his father at his funeral. My dad had passed away, and I was exercising at the gym during that time. And my siblings told me to come down, and I literally was going to finish my workout, my exercise, before I went to it. My wife had told me, "What are you doing? Let's go." That's how devoted I was. I'm not the average person. I pushed myself that hard so that none of you would have to do that or go through what I did. I want you to have a far more easy journey. I want you to be able to reach your goals, and I want your goals to be obtainable. I want you to know the truth about this industry, and I want you to know that you can always look at my journey and reflect upon my past and learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to go through that same pain. And the beauty of that is that there's 8 years of experience going into this. Those are my final thoughts. It's a long journey, and who knows, maybe I'll bring up another video to talk about it even more. But for the time being, be sure to leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts. I'm not against negativity. I'm not against people who want to give me constructive criticism. Let me know things that I could do better, because that's my whole goal. I want to be the best. make sure to subscribe to the channel. Continue to follow it so you don't miss a video. So if you are trying to become your best self, if you are trying to learn, if you one day feel like you'd love to be able to become the blueprint as well, and like I said before, if you want to know what it takes to become the best and reach those goals, follow this channel.